Your camera is like tilted kind of high, so you're yeah,
Oh,
so we can
sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize. I was like looking at myself. Sorry. I should. Yeah. I was just looking at.
uh
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool.
yeah, so okay, so today maybe we can do something different and we can maybe just gather some ideas and just sort of chat about LLMs in general and see if there's other data engineering use cases that we can sort of go through, gather some ideas, see if other people have ideas, and then see if we can test those out for future streams. Right. So, did you have anything about DS Pi? Was it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've just been playing around with the DSPy to generate mock data myself. And then I guess the first thing I was like, oh, I need to do a rag, like I was like, rag, like what do I need to retrieve, right? And then so then I was like starting to like write something about what I expect what data should look like. For example, I want to generate mock data and I want my phone number to be formatted a certain way. Or, just be without formatting, that kind of stuff. So I was like starting to write it till I realized that actually I already have that some sort of information in our catalog already. Some our catalog has like description of what each field means, and there's some hints about formatting. So then I actually started playing with that, and then I was like, oh, it's actually pretty good. But then the interesting thing, so I'm like, so this is before I'm like compiling and then, you know, optimizing my RAG. But anyway, I sort of realized, okay, well, maybe I don't need this like a retriever, like this Wikipedia or any kind of corpus, because the catalog, our internal catalog, is basically, I can just directly select on the fields I'm interested in, right? And then they're like, descriptions. So I just pop that in. But then the next thing I found out when I did that, like it actually is like unstable in its behavior. So I was like throwing it different kind of schema that I want. And then one funny thing is like one schema is actually a direct dump of Elasticsearch. And then it started giving me like directions on how to load it into Elasticsearch. It actually understands that, it's this underscore ID underscore source. Like it's like, oh, you must be doing Elasticsearch. It's like, so it's actually really funny. Like, oh, here's some data that you can load into Elasticsearch. Here's how you do it in JavaScript. Let's see. So that was kind of funny. This is Mistral 7B. So this is before
Seven,
compiling, and
yeah,
then
7B, right? Yeah.
7B, yeah. So it just kind of goes into that, and nothing is really what I wanted exactly. And then it's actually kind of interesting because like I'm only able to this is before compilation or like any optimization, but I'm only able to see what I was expecting to see if the schema is if my schema is like fewer than 5 fields or something. So so
Mm-hmm.
then it was like giving me proper JSON. But once I have like a schema that's like, like 20 or 30 field like long, it it just like goes off into tangents. It start explaining, like, oh, it starts to think, for example, that you want to, oh, this is an ETL use case, like this is how you want to map it. So I think that's also because our internal catalog like has a certain name, something like target field name. So it starts to think that, oh, you must be trying to, map it, right? Like, yeah, then sometimes it thinks that you're writing a code snippet. It's trying to explain your code snippet. When I'm not doing a code snippet, I'm just like giving it fields. So it's actually kind of interesting how it behaves. So I guess right now I'm just in the middle of making ESPy examples uh
Mm.
to uh to hopefully, be able to give like a thumb up or a thumbs down on what's a good input and bad input, good or bad like response.
So did you
So
get the optimizer to work?
yeah, I was able to flow through I was able to
Okay.
just run through to optimize, but then I was doing a very like a a very rough job of it. I wasn't plugging in proper, but I was able to run through the examples like of compiling. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
then I guess but for your optimizer, did you also use Minstrel to do the check?
That one. Or yes, yes. I also use Minstrel. Yeah,
Okay.
but
And,
I was just checking the feasibility of it, and then it did work. Uh,
okay.
but I still need to plug in actual examples and write out better metrics. I think like write out some metrics. I think the metrics I have was like not as good. Something like is complete or not. Maybe it's enough. Like
Hmm.
completely filled.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
did you also try
Mhm.
Mixtral, the larger Minstrel model?
No, no. Mm-mm. I
Okay.
only have the small one on my laptop. Yeah.
Well, no, but because you're using Olama, right?
I'm using Mistral. Mistral 7B. Mix
Oh, right.
Mistral.
Okay. No,
Mistral
no,
7B.
no, no. But you weren't using Olama to download it?
Ah, no, no. Olama to download it. Yes, Olama to download.
Okay, yeah, because
Mistral.
Olama has the Mixtral model as well, I think.
Oh yeah, I just didn't download because it was bigger. I wanted to see how far I can go with the smaller
Oh, the
one.
smaller one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
see what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I haven't like thought about how I'm going to transfer, like after I get this like nice prompt, how am I going to transfer to another machine, right? Like how am I going to store my compiled rag? That one I have not looked into yet because that would be nice if I can download a larger, um,
Well, I mean, the whole point of DSPy is that like you can just easily
you can
switch
just
to
swap.
another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so because it's relatively easy to swap another language model, that's what I was asking. Is like maybe it's worthwhile to try it because some of those behaviors that you mentioned, right, where it just
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, for lack of a better word, it just doesn't seem intelligent enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mixtural might be a better choice for it.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And that just compile on it, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then you just use Mixtural, and I think they also have. So they have Llama 2, and they got they also have Dolphin Mixture. I guess we don't care because we don't need uncensored.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but they also have, let's see what else they have. Oh, they also have Phi
Yeah.
if you wanted to do Phi, if you want to go
Mm-hmm.
smaller.
I think I was going off of the size, but then I don't. Maybe it's worth it to download a bigger one. Uh, uh
Well, so I think there's two approaches. So the bigger one I think is probably I'm pretty sure you can run it on your laptop if you do the Mixtral
uh-huh.
because I mean, it might take a little while, but we were able to download the Llama 2 70B.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, here's the size. I just basically went to Olama's GitHub. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get 4 gig. But you see.
what are you typing into?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
you
I
typed in
put it
Twitch?
in
Okay.
Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah, Twitch. If you scroll down, there's like size over there. Sizes.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. Well, like aiming for the buck. Oh no, Mixtral. Yeah, yeah. Mixtral was like 27 gig or something. I was like, ooh, that's a lot. So I just like stopped.
Okay. I'm just pointing out that I was able to
Yeah.
download Llama 2, which is 39 gigabytes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to do that. I was able to run that in Olama. So I'm pretty sure you can run
Hmm.
Mixtral without any
Uh-huh. Yes.
problems.
Yes, I will be able to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess the other thing is that so even though Phi 2 is smaller, there's some evidence to show that like it performs better even though it's smaller. So that's why it might be worthwhile
Oh,
trying Phi 2.
I see. Oh, okay. 5.2. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so if you really
Okay.
want to go small,
Yeah.
you can go way smaller and see how that
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. I kind of want to see how far prompt can take me. How far DSPy can take me. But we'll
Well, yeah,
see.
and that's the whole point of
Kind of
DSPy,
curious.
right? Like DSPy
Yeah.
is
How
supposed to
far?
take you pretty far with that, but then still be able to try it out with different models. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, supposedly with DSPy you don't need that many examples. So even if you did like handcrafted like 5 examples,
Mm-hmm.
like supposedly that should be enough. But
Yeah, that should be enough.
how
Yeah.
many examples did you have?
I only have one right now.
Hmm.
Because I was like doing I guess maybe I'm like going overboard. I was like just taking a real one and then crafting it. I was like,
All right.
and then some, yeah, and then it's kind of annoying because I can't really just live with one because there's some stuff that's like super nested and like and it's the documentation is not very good, within the catalog. It would actually be really ambiguous of what's happening because you would have like some field name and data type, and then we don't really have a good convention of noting annotating like what how nested type should look like. So it's actually really inconsistent. So I think I had to give it so in the back of my mind I was like, oh, I need to give different examples of, this, ambiguous type because it would say something like array and then array struct of what, like nothing. Like array struct of what nothing. So then but then I guess my answer would just be what it should be. But then it needs to kind of infer. So
Mm-hmm.
there's I feel like there's some parts on the catalog that could be cleaned up to help it, but then because it's kind of dirty right now, I would just need to give it more examples to, to hopefully it's just to hope that LM will give us something that we like, or or maybe it's just really a signal for us to clean up our catalog because it's honestly hard for humans to guess what it is either. Like what is this? Like
Well,
how
actually,
nested is it?
why don't we just
Yeah.
use the LLM to write the catalog?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Like how to actually uh okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's give it a document of what it should be. And then ask LLM to produce a reasonable like cuz you know how our catalog is right now is like flat, right? And
Yeah.
in our past stream, one of our streams, it actually gives us something nested, which is beautiful. But then, today our internal catalog is flat. So how do you, how do you, yeah, that would be a good
Well, I
one.
mean, so I was just imagining like perhaps what we could do is just like give it one or like just let's say 3 records. Okay. 3 records. We handpick them, so we pick the ones with like with all of the fields are populated if we can find that, right? So we're so and then no matter how nested it is, it has its complete data, no nulls, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like here's a table of data, write a description for each field,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Of what it should be, right? And then that way, like you can have like um, the catalog sort of have like the what's the field? What do we call it? we call it human readable description or something like that, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, just like
Yeah.
so, it's just a field description, right? Um, and
Hey,
then
that's actually a really good idea. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Keep going.
my
Yeah.
other thought is that maybe you should actually first use DSPy to make the mock data example as the first step
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
instead of doing do you know what I mean? Like try to ask it to make use DSPy to just do the first step is just do the mock data generation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So give it only one example and ask it to make more mock data,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that you have now five data points,
Mm-hmm.
right, to do your original task on.
Mm-hmm.
Because that way you don't gotta go look for, five more examples. You don't have to generate five examples. You can just ask it to generate five examples
Mm-hmm.
since you already have one example.
Uh-huh. So you handcraft your first example, right?
Yeah, or you look for it, right, as
Uh-huh.
best you can, right? So you handcraft. Oh yeah, yeah. So basically, yeah, you handcraft your first example. That should be enough for it to generate, four more examples,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you run those four examples into another instance where you're using DSPy to do the No, actually, why do you even need four? Like one is not enough?
You're talking about like in my case, right? Oh,
Yeah.
well, I was actually being pretty literal with my examples. I was like, oh, okay, this data set is about phone numbers, and I actually just plug it in. And then I probably trim away something that I feel is redundant, it doesn't need. But then I also want to capture, the inconsistencies of how we represent data type. Because our catalog right now is kind of messy. Like our mapping right now is kind of messy. So it could be something like, okay, person, and then person is like a nested field, and person has like addresses, and addresses would be an array. And then within the addresses, there, this element, right? So it's like a array of struct. So I saw in our like I see it in our mapping we're inconsistent about how we represent, something like the addresses. It would be sometimes it would be written as addresses uh sorry, like the name would be addresses dot element dot like, address full street or something like that, or address state.
Hmm.
So sometimes it has that word dot element dot in there, and sometimes it doesn't. And then also with the type, it's inconsistent. It could write like array of struct, or sometimes it would be array of struct of string. It's just like, well, okay.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like there's inconsistencies in how we write our types and in how we write our names, the field names in our mapping. Yeah.
Okay.
So
But that's interesting.
so it,
Usually LMs are good at handling the inconsistencies, though. So that's
yeah,
why.
yes, yes. So that's why I want to give it more examples.
Oh, I see.
Because I see inconsistencies in our in our field names, and in our yeah, I just see inconsistencies, so that I wanted to give it more examples, so
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
yeah. I mean, I do wish, like, like you're saying, we could use LLM to write descriptions and perhaps, clean up the catalog. um
Yeah.
and also perhaps to use it for product development as well, because sometimes when you're like, okay, what would be the best way to, for this data product to look like, and then you write out something, and then you're like, okay, translate it to, like our internal catalog speak, right? So it has a certain convention.
Okay.
It's like, okay, okay, now generate some field descriptions. because
Huh.
because the situation is like we have data today, right? But we're not really uh uh filling in our catalog as we should be doing it, and yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
man,
So I mean, yeah. So because like using it for more maintenance things, I think would be kind of interesting. But at the same time, it's like it's almost overkill to be using for LLMs now that I think about it, because you only do it once, right? You're not actually you don't, this is not like an automated task that you need to like repeat over and over again.
yeah, like QA or mock data, that's more obvious, yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like, I mean, the only time when I can sort of see that is like if you really need something to really check to make sure that you have good that like your data catalog is up to date,
Mm.
right? It's
Or maybe
almost
it's an agent, it's a chatbot. That, I mean, of course, like you have to build a chatbot for like product owners or something.
okay. Yeah, I can maybe see what you're saying. Like have like have like a bot that does all of like the documentation type of task, right?
Yeah, it's just like there's so many miscellaneous things around it. Yeah. Um, like, oh, okay, this person has name, phone, address, but how does it map to our internal catalog, right? And then it's like, and then you tell the bot and say, hey, give it to me, translate it to our catalog field names or whatever, right? And it
Hmm.
goes bam. And I'm like, okay, now give me 10 more examples of bam. Okay, now give me
Well, no,
some
no,
field descriptions.
no. I guess what I'm saying is that like, where's the value in like building an LLM to do some of these tasks when you only do the task once?
Is it only once though? I thought it would be.
No, well, you only need to update the catalog once, right? Every single time you get a
Yeah.
new vendor, it's only one time. That's only like, once a year at most, right?
Oh, yeah, but yeah. I think we have a lot of vendors, right? Or
Well, I mean, yeah, but even if you had, even like extreme scenarios when it's like, I guess maybe 100 would be a lot. If you had like a hundred things to go
fields.
through, I guess that might be worth it at that point to try an LLM to do the data catalog for you.
Well, originally I was just thinking about the mapping, the schema approval, all that kind of stuff, in that thing. Because, I feel like uh in coding we have linters, right? Like people don't have to argue about how things should be named. I also think, if LLM can serve in that capacity, that would be great. Like,
Ooh,
well,
that's an interesting use case.
yeah, yeah. It's just like I don't want to debate about how this name should be what, like
This.
I don't. Yeah, like it's just like a waste of time. Like coders already passed this, right? Like we just agree on linter and then move on, right? Like,
Well, I mean, that's kind of interesting from like a different angle, right? So like let's say we create an LLM, let's say data model that does like the data modeling, data, the schema things, right? And so
mm-hmm,
like it does the field naming. It has like a field, yeah,
mm-hmm,
standardized field naming convention sort of built in,
mm-hmm,
right? It's just like the
mm-hmm,
linter does, right? You just kind of use it and everybody just agrees on it,
mm-hmm.
right? Like that
Yeah,
would, I mean, that's not something like a personal use case. That would be more like, oh, if we did that, like everyone in the community could then use it, right? It'd be like an open source project to be like, okay, everybody just use
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
that
Well,
would be
yeah.
kind of interesting, right? Like actually, if you imagine that, but
Well,
would people do that? Would people use an open source LLM like app to help like rename like name all their
well,
fields and their
well,
schema and everything?
Well, to be honest, well, one thing is like, okay, so if we only want to be internally consistent, then this could be some kind of a rag, right? Like perhaps, like ingest our corpus, ingest our catalog, and then we ask, okay, what's the best, and then you give it some description, and like, okay, what's the best name for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or or maybe give it some content and say, hey, how would you map this, right? Like, so that's one use case. But another use case is if you want to be like standard. I feel like schema.org, like how like I know like when I was in web app before, we're always very conscious about okay, schema.org tags need to be there and schema.org, there's this person names. There's like it's basically uh everything has an attribute name. So if we can standardize to that, actually, I sort of think that we probably don't even need our internal data catalog. We just use schema.org. This is how we understand the world, Like, this is how we label things. So
Right,
I think
right.
I think people would actually use it if it's something like an open standard, like Wikipedia lingo or schema.org lingo. I actually think so. You know, it would help them. Yeah.
Right, but the open so the other aspect of this, right, is that like being an LLM, it means that like it would have to like read their schema, which they might not be happy about.
Mhm.
Right? It would have to possibly even look at some data, right, to like make sure and validate that, the schema that the name that they're suggesting actually matches the field, the data values, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's definitely some questions on there in terms of like would people actually? I mean, if it's all open source and you download it and you run it locally, I guess people won't complain. But it's
Mhm.
all like questionable, right? It's like people
Yeah. Yeah.
would actually do that. But you're saying that so just I guess just a imagination land here. So you're saying that let's say there was an open source uh software now where you have to you have to download the model as well, right? All
Mhm.
locally. So you download the entire thing locally, and then you run
Mhm.
it on uh, with like your real data. You think people would do that? Would run like an LLM on top of like their schema and their data just to like get all the names?
Mm. I mean, I think there's two parts. Like, I think you can even do without data. You may even to just get away with schema and descriptions.
And descriptions, possibly.
I think
But,
so. I that would be a lightweight one. So then they wouldn't people don't have to expose their data. But of course, if they can see some data,
well, I mean, if it's an
I
open
mean,
source thing and you have to download it locally, they're not
then it's no,
exposing it,
yeah, yeah,
right? They wouldn't be exposing anything
hmm,
because it's all
yeah,
done locally on their end. But it's more like
yeah.
would they go through that all of that, right? Like we when we like download you know when we import pi whatever, right? Like it's almost like natural. People just do it like yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna
Hmm,
import this other library and I'm gonna just go with it, right?
hmm, hmm.
Uh, like is that what you would imagine that like people would just be like import LLM schema name and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna run
I
this.
mean, there's a lot of like ETL going on, right? And people do ETL. I guess, if I have 500 field names, and if there's a tool that tells me I can automatically map to X field, like field names that, you know, that that are from the catalog, whatever catalog we decide to use, that would be very useful, I think.
Hmm, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have seen some data set. There's like just like literally 500 fields. And it's just like, and, and then, and what they do is that they just add some prefix, some internal prefix to it,
Yeah.
and then call it done. And then I was like, okay. I mean, but really?
I mean, we've seen some pretty extreme ones too, right? Especially with like address 1, address 2, address 3,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
and then it's like
yeah,
zip 1, zip 2, zip 3, and then it's like and then it just keeps going and it's just like address line 2, address line
yeah,
uh
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
it's like yeah, and it's like I think like it can get up to like 1,000 fields. I didn't actually check once, but I was like, oh, it's so
Hmm.
many fields. It's so wide. The table is so wide.
Yeah.
Uh, because of that. But that's an
Hmm.
interesting open source idea, right? Because I think it's
Hmm.
something that would have to be like an open source like thing where you're like,
Hmm.
hey, let's find some people who want to maybe give that a try as like an open source project and like
Data catalog renaming.
a data catalog. Well, actually, so renaming, but also like, because like, okay, so let's go back to like the linter example, right? It's so prevalent now. I don't even code, and I know what you're talking about in terms of linter, right? And it's so
Mm.
like it's so prevalent, right? And everyone sort of knows about it. So like, it's, would it ever get to a spot where like, that's like the default, where it's just like you have a startup, you don't even have a database yet, but like as soon as you do, like, you download the LLM schema namer, and it's just like your schema is now
It's just
always
like,
always
yeah, yeah, yeah.
standardized.
And then you can say I'm compliant with schema.org, like it's like, and then the web app is gonna love it because they're just gonna suck it up and then like put it there. They don't have to think about what this means and what like what schema.org
Just
tag should
everything
be.
be standardized to. So wait, so this is.
Schema.org? Yeah, schema.org. I don't know if Wikipedia has something similar. There must be. So
This, okay,
schema.org.
this is a W
Oh, so if you
three.
look at schemas, yeah, so if you look at schemas, so it
It's
has like, oh no, so there's a tab you see on the,
okay.
yeah, this guy, yeah, and then um, it's just like, yeah.
Hmm.
So basically, front end has to, label these on HTML. It's like, oh, I wish we could give them an easier job if we just align ourselves to this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and this is a W3
Interesting.
standard, right?
Uh, I don't know. Is it? Oh, W3C friendly.
But
It's
it's not actually. Oh no, it is. Okay, it is.
Schema.org is a set of extensible schemas that enables webmasters to embed structured data on their web pages. Or used by search engines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like if this is already like an established standard, right? At least for one aspect. For I mean, so yes, it's only used for web pages, but like that's a still pretty decent standard, right? So like if people follow the standard for their databases, like.
Yeah, for search engines, right? We all want to be crawled and
We all want to be
understood.
crawled.
I mean, it's
Uh,
all search engines, right? Like,
yeah, I, I I can see that, right? I don't know.
yeah, discoverable, right? Every field.
I don't know. Maybe there'll be some
Maybe I don't
folks.
know.
We should go recruit some folks to like, hey guys, you want to do an open source project? We got some ideas. Let's work
Name
on this.
ourselves to you. Yeah. Line.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah, this is something I was like thinking about when we were doing our internal data catalog. Or like, why don't we just do this? But then, it's just an idea. So.
Yeah. Yeah, cause like so the reason I was saying like new project, right? Like I can't see this working for an existing one, right?
Well,
Like.
existing one, I wonder if it's just like a kind of a RAG kind of a thing. Like, I wonder if LLM can still, understand the existing catalog and
Mm-hmm.
recommend, you know, like recommend what field name to, use or to rename. Because
Well,
I
I guess.
remember we did an exercise. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, both cases would be a RAG scenario, right? So it's either RAG where like the existing one is
Yeah.
the
So yeah.
schema.org one, or
hmm
it's your own, right? But I guess no,
Yes.
but yeah, you're right, right? So if we were to build something like that, where the documents are all the schemas, and the default is just the schema.org schema,
hmm
then yeah, then like people will sort of naturally, but over time, over usage, they would just naturally fall into using this. right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess that could work. We just gotta see if people actually want that, and then if people actually want to do an open source project to actually do that. I don't know. Maybe post it on Reddit. Everybody's looking for open source
Yeah.
projects to work on.
But I don't know. I encountered schema.org a long time ago, so I don't know if it's still like the de facto standard, for search engines. Maybe we can look to see if there are other standards for search engines.
Maybe. But I guess from what we were saying, right, is that like if we were to do it uh as like a RAG model, it wouldn't matter what the standard is. You just pick a standard and it would just read
Mhm.
the it would just read the document, right? So it would
Yeah.
we don't care which one we pick.
Mhm.
So, yeah. That
Yeah. It work. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things like, yeah, like it would help improve quality of life. But then to build it, it takes some time, maybe.
Yeah, oh yeah, it would definitely take a lot of time, right? Uh
Yeah.
Especially like the LLM stuff. I love schema.org
Yeah.
and open interoperable schemas.
Also, yeah, I know, like, right, like search engines. Yeah.
Well, Harrison approves of it. He would support it. So
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I was like just trying to get mock data to work now. So, so the simple use case.
yeah,
Yeah.
but well, yeah. I mean, the mock data use case is I think that one's an actual business, right? So
Hmm.
like I think there are businesses that actually do that, but
Hmm.
yeah, if we can just I also wonder like you know how like all these some of these use cases we talked about sometimes are like just like one time use cases, right?
Hmm.
I sometimes
Hmm.
do wonder like if we can actually just build an internal, or it's like internal company wide LLM, not really a chatbot, but kind of like a chatbot, but just kind of like do these one off things,
Hmm.
right? It's like
Yeah.
something a little bit more like especially with the way like the agents works are shaping out. I don't know if you've seen some of these things, right? But like they'll basically have like an LLM agent where like you give it a task and then it like figures out how to break down the problem and then ask other LLM agents to like to work on it and then like in the end provide you with whatever you're looking for, um,
Mhm.
right? So like like if we can make something a little more generically useful like that, then it's just kind of like an LLM employee, right? And it's like it can't do some of the harder things, but it can do some of like the more tedious types of things. Um, so I kind of wonder if like something like that would actually be more palatable. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think an LLM should be trained in all of our onboarding, on our catalog. I definitely think so. I feel like people have a lot of questions when they're working on ETL about, what, like what exactly, are we looking at here? This field name is like so obtruse, the names is so daunting, right? Like blah blah blah. It's like just like so many parts. It would be nice for, if I could ask the LM, say, hey, where does this come from? What is this business logic that forms it, right? What is, what are some examples of this field? In a chat way, I think actually a lot of people will use it. A lot of developers developing logic would use it.
right,
You know,
right. So,
it,
so
yeah.
it'd be like Bing
Mhm.
Chat. It'd be like a Bing Chat, but instead of actually searching the web, it would just search all of our internal GitHub.
Yeah.
It would just search all of our GitHub pages.
CSVs, like because of our, uh, I mean, yeah, our
Well,
catalog, everything is actually there. in the server. So I actually think it's doable. Yeah.
Yeah, just to
Well, I
have
mean
like
the
a
configurations. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, because
Configurations, even data. Yeah, yeah,
all the config files are all flat text files, right? So it could read
yeah.
all of the
Hmm.
text files,
Hmm.
right? And it could
Yeah,
and it's that's like actually your the typical RAG use case,
yeah,
right? Where it's like
yeah.
you have basically like you have one document which is like actually your folder structure document,
Hmm.
right? And then like it goes through it. It says, "Oh, Confluence kind of does this now. They're incorporating RAG into their search. They also have named entity recognition." Yeah, so the Confluence AI we've tried it. It's like it's so bad. It doesn't like it's not great. Um, and Confluence is Confluence. It doesn't go through GitHub, right? And I think that's the other thing about all these silos, right? And like Confluence only goes through Confluence. It doesn't go through Jira, which is like, oh, why not? Right?
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah. So I feel like somebody missed a couple of use cases. So some PMs missed a couple of great opportunities on the at over there. Um, so, but yeah, like
yeah.
if we just had LM on top of GitHub, right? We have
Or
almost
even just our server that serves the catalog. Even just that. And then you marry it with, okay, let's say your data is somewhere else. If we can have it retrieve it from Athena or something, that would be like everything,
so
right?
you're talking about like metadata DB,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So for other folks, right, if they were to capture all of their metadata in like a separate schema, right, the LLM just needs to read the metadata,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then they'll be yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be actually very powerful. I mean, it would get a lot of usage for uh I think the PMs would as well, right? They would be like, "Oh, what fields are available to me?" Right? So then they would not have to filter in some Excel or I don't know in database.
Mm-hmm.
They would be asking, "Oh, what fields are useful to me for making some, if I want to build out some phone history of a business or phone history of a person." you know
Yeah.
and then like all these fields would come out, right? Like that would be kind of cool. I mean, yeah, that would be yeah, really just drag, right? You have this retriever that just retrieve everything, and then yeah,
Yeah, and then they could ask intelligent questions on top of it, of like, "Hey,
yeah,
is this
yeah, they
like
could.
cleaned and like can I?" Right.
Yeah. What are some values already, right? And then you already get like a lot of values, like oddball codes or like special services, like that will give them ideas of yeah,
Oh,
I don't know what
actually,
to show.
in that
Yeah.
scenario, we could also do the rag on top of like profiling,
Yes, yes,
right?
exactly.
And then you can ask it like, "Oh, what's the fill rate on this one and whatnot?" And then it could
Yeah,
just go and look it
yeah,
up. So yeah,
yeah.
that's actually
Or you can, yeah. Or
that's like
maybe
an internal LLM tool that basically helps
looks up
developer.
really quick, right? Like a very
Yeah,
general purpose. It's actually faster than, going to Tableau and then check your profile report or something, right?
because Tableau is so slow.
It's like it's faster to just ask a question, like, you know. And then also, if I'm a PM, like developing a new product, I would say, hey, grab me all the relevant fields that have significant fill rate, right? Like,
Right.
grab me phone related fields that have like significant, because I don't you don't care about small
Yeah,
things. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that would be pretty useful.
Yeah,
Um,
so then developers and PMs could all use this sort of internal chatbot for
yeah.
yeah.
To Yeah, it's just like then it's like, okay, after you build this, you have to measure success, or like, are people really using this?
That one is pretty hard to measure success. Although, I mean, as you mentioned, the first thing you measure is usage, right? How often do people use it? And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the indirect measurement of success, right? If people use it very
Mm-hmm.
often, then you know they're like finding value from it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you don't measure usage. You measure like unique users over time, and if people continue to use it, then that's how you know it's good,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? But it's also internal, so you could just ask them. It's like, "Yo, is this good?" Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but but not actually. But like, if we
General
were to do
purpose. Yeah.
that, no. But if we were to do that, we could easily sell that. Like every company, right, would be like, "Oh yeah, give me that. Like I'm gonna set this up for my developers," right?
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
I think you have
Yeah.
to. I mean, I guess it would depend on how good it is. As long as it's like really truly flexible to like any RAG, right? It's just like, okay, dump all of your stuff in here, and then
Yeah.
chatbot just kind of goes through it.
Yeah. I imagine like Databricks must already be doing, somebody like Databricks will already be doing that because they have Unity catalog, right? And then they probably have some kind of, I don't know if they have profiling, I don't know, available, but let's assume so, then they would do it.
Well, I mean, but no. Let's see. That's interesting because profiling is actually one of our very much like a company.
In-
I feel like it's a very. I haven't seen other companies do the level of profiling that we do.
Oh,
Like the
oh,
type
okay.
of profiling that we do. Like the type of profiling we do is very one is very detailed, but two, the interesting part about it is that like it's human readable. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? And like
uh-huh.
that's the unique thing about it is
I
that it's
don't know. Actually, I don't know.
well
Well, how is
no
it
no
different from others? Uh-huh.
no the human readable aspect of it.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
The
Oh.
fact that like we have this tool and we built this tool to create a human readable report, right, is like now like so suitable for LLMs because LLMs are good at the human readable reports,
Oh, I see what you mean. They can
right?
actually make it digest it because it's already in
Yeah,
the
because they just read it
it
like
has
a
your
as
context.
yeah, they read it like we would read it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Including the borders that you put in on like the tables and like
Yeah.
whatnot. Like like
Oh
it
my
reads
gosh.
that. It
Yeah.
reads that and it knows that like, oh, this up here is the column header because we put like, the ASCII art type of like thing on it. Like it knows that. When it reads that's the other thing. I don't know if you know this, but LLMs can read ASCII art.
Oh, wow.
So like
Okay.
so just how like when we read it and like we know that like, oh, these, you know that like,
This is an element.
these pipe
Okay.
characters. No. You know how like the when we read like a I forget what it's called, but when you do like a Python print, you can also print out and like neatly with like the characters to tell you that this is like the header and like this is a new line and whatnot. Do you know what I'm talking
Uh,
about?
maybe I don't. I think I just do print. I
No,
just
no, no.
like
No,
template
but
it or
there's like
something.
a pretty print where you can print out like the table,
Oh, I know what
and
you
it
mean.
looks like
I know
it
what you
looks like
mean.
a
Yeah.
table, right? But it's like
Okay.
ASCII art looking like a table, right? And then it
Yeah.
puts the
Yeah.
data values inside.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying is that LLMs can read that and
Mhm.
understand that like, oh, this this character, this pipe is part of the table that's been formatted and not like a pipe delimited file. Do you
Mhm.
know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. This
I almost
amazing.
feel like
Yeah.
I should look for images of this and like
Uh-huh.
uh is it images? So this is like what is it called? Like a print table
Pretty, pretty print or
print table. I'm just gonna say okay, yeah, this right. So like it has like these. I mean, this one's in Python, but like, hold on, let's see. Take a look at this one. No, okay, this right here. Look, see how it's like ASCII. It's basically like
Mhm.
the pluses, the minuses, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like when a human reads this, a human realizes that this section is the column names,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's in this formatted way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when an
Yeah.
LLM reads this, it will also know that this is the column header.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. So that's
Oh,
what.
yeah.
So
So
so so
good.
that.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, like for us, like that profiling report that we have, like, because it's printed like this, it's human readable. But because it's human
Hmm.
readable, now it's also LLM readable.
Oh, that's interesting because, we could actually write our assertions in English. I mean, currently, this report could be in like CSV form, and then you just kind of check, in Python or whatever. It's just like, oh, is this greater than XYZ, right? It's very dumb. It just looks like that. You could also just have LM, like, just, just like, hey, what do you think? This text and expectations, what's wrong?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
possible. So
yeah.
yeah, if we could like build like an internal LM to do that, that would be kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything would be local, so
Yeah,
we wouldn't have to worry about like other stuffs,
yeah,
like sending data over APIs and stuff.
right. Yeah, having it do analysis is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should do that as like a hackathon,
Oh, that would be kind of fun. Yeah.
right?
I think
It's
it
just
actually would
like,
get a lot of usage. Yeah.
yeah, just propose that as like a hackathon. It's be like, hey, let's
Yeah.
let's build an LLM bot internal for us to ask questions about our data and our schemas and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, or even yeah, let's see. I mean, we had idea about QA, right? It's kind of a little bit like this, right? Like spotting what's wrong. Like,
well, I guess, yeah, as long as the RAG model can retrieve whatever, let's say you can go into your branch that you're working on, like ask it to QA your code review. It could do that too, right? It's the same sort of framework,
hmm
right? Yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah. This framework could work for a lot of different use cases. So it's basically an internal RAG LLM that like you can then talk to it about all of your internal documents, right?
hmm yeah,
And internal code, and then it just
hmm
goes through. Yeah, so
yeah,
that would be, yeah, that would definitely be an interesting hackathon
hmm
project
hmm
for us to go through.
yeah. I wonder if the customers would be interested as well, external. But mm,
I feel like I think a lot of people would be pretty interested in that as well, but
mm,
as long as it was like purely like internal, right? So like you have to do the thing where it's like, okay, like, it's on-prem, you got to host it because customers don't want to send it to, send their documents to you, right? Like that's not gonna
hmm
work. Uh,
yeah.
but
Mm,
I mean that specific type of like problem we're not the first people to think about this, by the way,
mhm,
right? Like just having like a RAG model is like such a common use case right now. Like so many people are doing this, right?
mhm,
For different scenarios, like for legal, um, for training documents, for a university. I know for example, because my sister set one up for her college, uh, where like the college kids can just talk to this bot and like ask them questions like, oh, how do I
mm,
transfer classes and stuff like that. All like, it's like an FAQ bot, right? Um,
mm,
but it goes through all of the university documents and like points to them. So like that specific type of thing has already been done. I think it's just like and I'm pretty sure people are already doing that for like their code. It's
mm,
just I haven't heard anybody about it. It's like say like specifically mention that use case, but I feel like that's somebody else has already been doing this, and I don't know if they're just
Mhm. Mhm.
not talking about it, because this is so.
Yeah.
But yeah, all
Yeah.
right. But yeah, okay. I mean, there's that's definitely something I think we could do internally. Obviously, we couldn't do it on stream, but uh, but uh, but that would be a fun thing to do internally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other ideas?
Anyways, yeah. If anybody else has ideas, we were just chatting today, just to sort of talk through different ideas of what we might want to do. Um, so, if you guys have other ideas, you're welcome to put things in the chat, or if you're welcome to also message me with any ideas you have of things
Mhm.
you might want to try or see. We have a lot of ideas that like we can't really do on stream, so we're trying to figure out like what we could do because yeah, a lot of the other stuff is just kind of internal company stuff, so we can't share that on stream.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Cool.
anyways, yeah. All right, time's
All
up though.
right.
Happy Wednesday, folks. If we get some good ideas for this, maybe we'll try some other. We'll do some more LLM stuff on Friday. Otherwise, we
Mhm.
might. I don't know if we have more discussions or other ideas to go through. But
Mhm.
yeah, if you, I feel like I don't know if people weren't really discussing as much, but we'll see if they like it.
Mhm.
All right, guys. See you guys Friday.
Cool.
Bye.
See ya.